of community in general?
My perception, or just in general perception of community?
Um, a general perception of community.
Okay.
Because I think that's because as we're having this conversation, what's alive for me is being able to improve the perception of community in general, because there's a lot of things I would like to do about economic reform, and people think of that as communism. And anytime that there's like equality mentioned, there's like a stigma attached to it. So yeah, so I think that question around community in general is starting to feel very alive for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll ask the question again and maybe simplify it. Does reaching out to other communities or reaching out to other groups appeal to you? And would that improve your sense of
Oh,
community
yeah.
in general?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there's a yes for Amy. I see a not sure from Kylia. Okay. Yes from Beth. Not sure from Becky. And I think we just needed a response from Ray. And I can explore the question for you a little bit if needed.
I think I think it's a yes, but I just wanted to I started to apply it to like a community that maybe I don't think well of right now. And I was thinking
Okay.
like, what if that community were to take up this process?
Mm-hmm.
Would that improve my perception of them as a community?
Yeah.
Or would that improve my confidence in people's ability to engage in community in a meaningful way?
Mm-hmm.
I think yes, but I don't think that's exactly the question you're asking.
No, that's okay. And that's the thing. I mean, these questions, we're kind of pulling the question down and making it personal too. So
Yeah.
I definitely encourage, that line of thought. And if you have
Mm-hmm.
something specific that you want to put in there, and if that informs your answer, then that will, as we're collecting all of this data, that's going to
Mm-hmm.
inform where the consensus is for all of us in general. So yeah.
Right. And I think my specific desire, just going back to your original question, was
Mhm,
to expand this group and invite other
mhm,
individuals into the
mhm,
group. But
mhm.
I also like the idea of sharing the model with other groups.
Yep. Yep. Very good. Beth, you have your hand up.
I did. I don't know how to put it back down. I'll figure that out in a minute. Anyway, I was thinking, oh no, sorry, my dog is starting.
It's okay.
Allie, not now, honey. Really? If someone else would like to perspective, I need to deal with her.
No problem. No problem. We'll hold for a little bit to before we go on. But Amy, go ahead.
Okay. So, you know, um, and part of your question was confidence.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm still learning. I don't have the confidence,
Hmm.
but I do think that it is a benefit. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's the reason why I did thumbs up. But if I was really technical, I'd be like,
Hmm.
wishy-washy. Like it seems like today is my wishy-washy day because I'm watching every
It's
one of
okay.
them.
And that's the thing. I would honestly, this is why this is the dissent conversation as well too, because we're clarifying a little bit more, what we mean, or how we're making the context relevant to us. As we keep doing this and keep practicing it, it's going to flow more. And that's when we get more into responsibility conversation. But
Yeah, I
this
like
is
the
what the dissent,
flow.
yeah, this is what the dissent conversation is all about, is kind of like picking it apart a little bit and really finding, what is the significance or the relevance to us personally. So that's why this is the dissent conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome back, Beth.
Thank you. I'm ready now. The
Yeah,
garbage
great.
man went by.
Hmm.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, thinking about it from my own context,
Yes.
this is something we talk about all the time.
Yes.
I am constantly encouraging my congregation that everyone belongs
Hmm.
in the church.
Hmm.
And think some of them probably bristle a little bit when I mention people of color and the LGBT community,
Mhm.
but I tell them because they think it's political. And I
Yeah.
say, well, I'm sorry that they've been politicized, but for me, this is about people, not about politics. This has nothing to do with politics.
Mhm.
These are the very people that Jesus is calling us to stand up for.
Mhm.
So we want to welcome everybody into our church. We're about to put up a sign saying that rooted in Jesus, diversity is embraced here.
Mhm.
With diversity and rainbow colors, woo! But when you bring different types of people in a group, it changes the dynamic of the group.
Mhm.
Which some of my older members would probably have a bit of resistance to, even
Mhm.
though they say they want to grow.
Yeah.
So now I would imagine the same would be the same for this group.
Mhm.
That, yes, of course, bring it on. Let's do, more community. But it could change the dynamics of the group. I mean, it would actually, not could, it would
Mhm.
change the dynamics of the group, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but depending on who the people are, it could cause discomfort for
Mhm.
some people. Just the way
Absolutely.
if in my church, uh, if a drag queen came into my church, would there be a little bit of discomfort? There might be.
Mhm.
Having said that, we had my two of my friends who are women who are married to each other
Mhm.
were in worship the other day, and the one was running a workshop for us after church, and I introduced them as wives.
Mhm.
And the one was sort of, she told me later, oh gosh, I can't believe you said that. I was a little nervous, but then her wife was like, well, it wasn't like anybody turned around and looked at us and went, you know.
Yeah.
So I think they were fine. I haven't heard any, oh gosh, how could we have gay people in the church? So I consider that to be a pretty good thing. But still that kind of thing, just different people from
Mhm.
different types of communities, it just changes the dynamic, and not
Yeah.
everyone would be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Um, so, but
Yeah.
yep,
And
this is what we're here for, kids.
yeah, and that's part of the the point of the conversation as well too. If we're going to if two communities or two groups are going to come together, what is the elephant in the room? What do we need to be talking about first so that we create an environment of safety when there is going to be a little bit of a culture shock, and inevitably that's what that happens.
Oh, and if I may add just one more thing.
Sure.
I tell my congregation, we welcome everyone, but we don't welcome all behaviors.
Right. Hmm.
If there are people who have ill intentions toward my congregation, they will not be welcome.
Right.
That's all
Yep.
there is to it. Otherwise, hey, if you come in peace, you're welcome here.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and I can't see that happening with a group like this, that there would
Hmm.
be people who would join who, I don't know, would want to cause harm to other people. I don't see that in this context, but
Right.
it could happen in a church.
Yep.
I've seen it happen. So, yeah.
All right. So we are at 7:30, moving right along here. Okay. So that being said, also Beth, I think that segues nicely into the next action, and that is the bigger conversations. The bigger conversations about government, state, about the market, how the financial system works, and about the commons, the needs of the commons. So these are the bigger political questions. These are the bigger, social questions. So I think to reframe the question around community, again, what is your confidence level about participating in those kinds of conversations? If there were more, you know what? No, I'm not gonna layer that on yet. What is your confidence level in having those bigger conversations? Would that improve if those conversations could happen? Would that improve your perception of community? Okay, so Kylie is I'm not sure. Okay, so we got a yes from Ray. Not
Can
sure
you
if I'm
clarify the question, please?
sure.
Conversations about what?
Yeah, getting into the deeper conversations about politics and religion and how they affect the how they affect the community at large. How yeah, great. All right, so I'm going to ask everyone's. Okay, so actually, I think I got everyone's. Okay, and I just need Becky's, and I can. Okay,
Invest in this.
okay. Okay, I'm going to be. Great. Would anyone like to speak to that? Because I'll reframe the question if needed, but yeah, just what comes up for you around the bigger conversations about economic reform, about political reform, about having the difficult conversations about what's going on that bigger scale. Yes, Amy.
Well, it's a very personal topic, right?
Hmm.
Um, and it is a very heated topic majority of the time.
Hmm.
If you have two parties that don't see each other
Hmm.
eye to eye, right? Um, a lot of people take things personally and have certain expectations on stereotypically, you know, how somebody else should behave and each party behaves and everything like that.
Hmm.
I'm not a political person, so that's the reason why I went this way.
Right. Hmm.
I'm a neutral.
Hmm.
I look at all factors, and whichever one is the lesser of the evils, that's when I choose to go with that time
Hmm.
in my political beliefs. Um, Now you also put my perception
Right.
in,
Hmm.
which I have a hard time, with that word. It's
Right.
obviously. Um, so that's another reason why I went this way
Sure.
because
Hmm.
I'm really for it takes a lot for somebody to change my belief system because
Hmm.
I'm really strong on my belief system.
Hmm.
Not saying that it has never happened before, but
Hmm.
I'm pretty confident in who I am and where I stand in my truth that off this I can't say the word, but you know what that word I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
On authenticity. See,
Authenticity. Hmm.
thank you. That's it. You got it. Gotta learn Amy talk. Anyway, um, so if it's my perception, it's definitely a this
Hmm.
because do I think it's going to help me have a conversation? Yes,
Hmm.
as long as people don't take it personally and get thicker skin
Hmm.
and be able to do it with the right frame of mind
Yeah.
as a learning experience and not as an attack because most people go right into you're attacking my belief system and that's not necessarily true because for
Hmm.
me I don't have a system. I mean I'm neither
Hmm.
politically and I don't like politics too well because I don't believe anybody should govern over each or tell one person that they can or cannot do something just because, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Um, I believe all of us should be equal and, happy and merry, but I know that's not realistic in this society.
Hmm.
But that's my kind of my why I'm creating my own little world and little piece of heaven because that can be played out on a micro level, right? Is it micro level?
Hmm. Sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe not macro level,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm hearing is that the big questions and on a global scale is uncomfortable, which is why I think like with most of us when we kind of took that survey, we're all we're all kind of like let's focus on the spiritual and the spiritual and the mental health aspect, which will help make those bigger conversations easier
Right.
even before approaching that spiritual and mental health level. Let's keep it in appreciation, learn about each other, so that we're not we're not diagnosing each other, or we're not making judgments about each other, but really just receiving, through the appreciation or the living library conversations, what is this person's perspective, and do we understand it before, before making those kind of judgments or anything like that. Once we can establish that, then the bigger questions, within the community that have alignment, that has a resonance with each other, then we can start to, address some of those bigger social global type of relationships.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what's alive for me in response to that, Amy. And why the politics is not comfortable, not very comfortable.
Is it ever? I
Yeah.
mean, even in a relationship, when you're going on that first date, you're told not to do it on the first date. But the funny thing about it is, in every single relationship, I always did, which is weird. I like to get it out in the open, whip the band-aid off and see how it goes. But that's just me, each person is different. Some people need baby steps, and some people just jump and see if they can swim. And hopefully there's somebody that has a life preserver, or
Yep.
they will actually teach themselves to swim, right?
Right.
It's all about different perspectives.
Ray, you have yep, go for it.
I just, in the spirit of the Dissent conversation, I just want to put it out there to Amy that everything is political, and what you're doing right now is a political decision. And we are all socially conditioned to feel uncomfortable talking about politics because the powers that be want to stay in power.
Yeah. Thank you, Ray.
Ray, I totally agree with that. I do. I didn't know it was political, though. What I'm doing right now is political, because all I'm trying to do is create my own heaven. And I don't know how that, is political, just to give hold the space to let other people believe that they can create their own. And if that's, I don't get that side of it. So maybe we can have a conversation after this, so you can explain that to me, because I would love to understand that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Awesome.
Great. That's great. Yes. And I'll make the observation, just knowing about some of the conversations that are happening offline. I mean, a lot of that work is being done between these conversations. That's great. That's wonderful. Kylia, you have your hand up.
I was going to say yes. It is political, Amy, because you're going against the norm. We're taught to couple into small groups and move away from community units into individual family homes, or got to do it by yourself, got to be solo. You're also offering a free space where people can set up home and take space, which flies in the face of everything that capitalism teaches. Because capitalism teaches that you can't do that because people are going to take advantage of you. They're going to railroad you, or you won't be able to survive because there won't be enough for you. And these are just light concepts. It goes a lot deeper than that. But just the very idea of teaching other people to create their own heaven on earth flies in the face of capitalism, because the heaven on earth should be the traditional family home with the house and the mortgage and the fancy cars and the thing and the thing. And telling people that they can want something different than that they can build something different than that they can live something different than that, is completely against the political structures, especially of Western society. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yes,
Leah.
I didn't even know that that's what I was doing personally. I didn't even. So out of my concept there. But thank you guys for letting me know.
Kylia, if I may add, I don't know if you're into Jesus or whatever, but that's very much a Jesus-y thing. Jesus taught to live in a world that is completely different from the society we have. It's almost completely the opposite of that. And here's Amy creating her heaven on earth. So, yep, I agree. It's a political move. Whether that was your intention or not, or however, And obviously other people are perceiving it in a different way, and that's all right. I think it's political too, just saying.
Jesus is pretty dope. He's one of my homeboys. We talk a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent, girl. Excellent.
Yeah, before Kylie and Amy jumped on, I think Beth and I were talking about as well about the branch of ministry that I'm studying, the Aquarium Gospel of Jesus. Um, I'm finding correlations between that text and the King James New Testament version as well too, about how much in alignment Jesus was with natural law, and being able to be conscious creators, treating everyone as sovereign. That's very much in accordance with natural law. Our society is it explores a whole different color of law, common law being one of them, where it is about hierarchy and power over and telling others what they should and how they should think and everything like that. So yeah, the bigger questions are eventually going to evolve out of this initiative. But we're here for you, Amy. That's that's part of the reason why we wanted to initiate this, so that we, you have people that have your back. So
Thank you guys. I do appreciate it.
Yep.
That's not my intention is politically. I hadn't even gone there in my mind frame. I just wanted to hold space for other people again. But I guess I need to look at it a different way. Um, and I appreciate you opening up my mind to look at it that way. Even though I was not expecting that. So thanks.
yeah. And I'll say something too, Amy. You don't need to do anything. We're friends here. We're all friends here, and we're just we're having a conversation about what's important to us. And as we align, I think we can all support each other. So that brings me to the last action step that I have written down here, and one of the inspirations was because of what you're building there, Amy. And one of the things that I've been involved with in the last 5 years is time banking and using the technology to to keep track of hours and to change the value of the common person. And one of the things that time banking makes possible is the opportunity for spiritual services, mental health services to be exchanged for some of the more practical services. So Becky and I are the ones who pretty much have I guess a little more experience with time banking. But if we were to create this initiative and create a time bank, and invite all of you to use that system, to use that technology to log the hours and to enter it into a system that kind of changes the economic landscape. Do you believe that that would improve your perception of community? And I am open to clarifying questions here because, like I said, time banking is something that is still a foreign concept, but I'd love to go into it a little bit more if you want to explore that. Okay, so Kylie is a yes, Ray is a yes, Beth is a yes. Amy, do you have a question?
Okay, explain that. I mean, dumb that down for me, okay?
Sure. Let's say there was a system where it wasn't really about money, but it was about the time you invested. So let's say you could give 1 hour of spiritual services to someone, and in exchange for that, they would do 1 hour of construction work for you on your property.
Mm.
So
Okay,
that's
so explain this to me then, because sometimes the value or worth is different
hmm
for the skill set that other people are using.
hmm
Does that make sense?
let
How
me
does
let me
that
ask
play into
yes,
things?
let me ask you this question then. Who determines that value?
I guess yourself, right? You're supposed to know your worth.
Mm-hmm.
So if I thought my skill set was like, let's say I'm doing a logo for somebody in art,
Okay.
and I'm doing their whole campaign.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than an hour's worth of construction work,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Just because that's my intellect creation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it is my own thing that I created out of thin air,
Mm-hmm.
as well as, I don't know. I just, I guess you would have to have an agreement, right? On what is that, or the exchange rate,
Mm-hmm.
or the time banking. There couldn't be a set time, like an hour to an hour kind of thing. Because there's some things that I feel are more valuable. If somebody gave me a creation that was never like a new concept of doing something that nobody thought of before, I would take that more value to have that information than just having somebody build a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody creating, time for myself, meaning like they managed my time where I could do more or be more productive. I would think that would be more valuable than, certain things. And that could be my naiveness. Okay. And I will admit, I have no clue on time banking and how it works. I'll be the first one to admit that. Or maybe I have some, programming that needs to be worked out of, because you're right, everything is depending on your worth and value. I get that. And you're the one that chooses your worth and value as you see fit.
Mm-hmm.
So does that apply to it or doesn't? Or are we just talking general, like theory, overall kind of stuff? Does that make sense?
I would like to hear what Ray and Kylea have to contribute here, but I do have thoughts with that, and I do want to remind everyone we have 10 minutes left, and I do have a hard stop at 8 because of rehearsal. So Ray,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to ask a question, and I'm like really interested to hear what Michael has to say too. But my question would be to Amy is, do you think that an hour of my time is more or less valuable than an hour of your time, regardless of what we're doing with that time?
No, not from an even exchange of time. But if you were creating something out of your intellect that is visionary, yes, I think that's worth more
Understood,
than
but that
just
would
time.
probably take more time too, like most likely. But yeah, my understanding, and Michael can clarify this if I'm mistaken, but my understanding of time making is that it's literally not about what you're doing. It's about how much time you're giving to someone. And the idea is to do something that comes easily to you, that's actually giving you joy, so that actually it doesn't feel like a lot of work. It's like a gift that you have that you're giving, and it's really just about the time that you're spending.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Kylea.
I was going to say a similar thing, which is one, I understand where you're coming from with that, Edie. But when it comes to time banking, it's not actually about what you're doing for the person. It's about how much time you're spending on whatever it is you're doing, and then getting that back reciprocally at a later date in the same amount of time. And certain things are also just like personal perception. So like what may feel like someone may do something for you and it might only take them 10 minutes, right? That they did this thing, but this thing feels so valuable to you that you might feel like it's worth 3 hours of time. And that's up for you to decide and you to allocate on your personal. So the basic concept is kind of like an hour for an hour exchange, but then you take that into yourself and you work that in a way that feels authentic and true for you.
I'll just add this last thing, and then we'll do the voting again. The reason why I think there's been a lot of conflict, even within the time banking community, is because there are these preconceived ideas or even these judgments about how much you're worth compared to someone else, which is why I would like to encourage creating a living library where people can invest time developing relationships so they can make conscious agreements about what they want to be spending their time doing. And that's, I think, the foundation, first of all, is conscious agreements, because when we get into the big conversation, the political conversation, most of us, the commons, when we're looking at the financial system, our hour is only worth 4 cents an hour, and it's not even our asset. You know, we are being extracted 4 cents an hour to give the most powerful people on this planet their financial worth. Time banking is the first step in changing those unconscious agreements to making it more conscious so that the financial system can be more equitable. So I'm just going to plant that seed with that. So after having this conversation, do you believe a time bank would improve your perception of a community in general? Yes, I'm not quite sure, or I have resistance to that. Okay. Okay, and Ray, you were a yes before? Okay. Okay. Okay, that is interesting. I think that's a great place to wrap up and do a checkout. And I'm sorry to have to do a really quick checkout here, but let's just check out with, what did you appreciate most about tonight? What did you appreciate most about tonight? What I appreciate most is really being able to unpack this. This was a conversation that I think when somebody's looking at it a couple years from now, I think they're going to want to go back and listen to it a couple of times, because we did a lot here tonight. So I appreciate a lot of discovery and exploration today. So I'm going to check out with that, and I'm going to pass it to Ray. What did you appreciate most about tonight?
I appreciated the time that was given for clarification.
Mhm. Great, thank you. And I'll let you pass it to whoever next to check out.
I'll pass it to Beth.
I appreciated the discussion on community and the back and forth, particularly with Amy. God love you, honey. You got a lot of questions pointed at you today, but okay. And I feel like it went well. I trust that there were no hurt feelings, and that we had an adult conversation and about an important topic, and I appreciated that.
Great, thank you, Beth. And why don't you pass it to someone who hasn't gone yet?
Let's go to Becky.
I appreciated hearing people's reasons for their answers. Yeah, and the clarification as well.
All right, and then we'll go to Kylia or Amy.
Let's do Amy.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to leave it off as for the feedback, giving me some different perspectives and the clarification of how this is going. I'd love to learn, and I'll leave it at that, and I will set it off to Kylia.
Okay, great.
I am grateful for people's willingness to kind of like respectfully challenge other people's like thoughts and viewpoints
Mhm.
in a very like just non-attacking, just with like straight compassion and curiosity type of way. That was what I was grateful for.
Great, thank you, Kylie. And yes, I would have to say, as far as a dissent conversation goes, this was one of the most respectful and curious, exercising of curiosity that I've seen in a long time. So thank you all.